I will be showing you a game that I found in Gelfand's positional decision-making book. I think it's a very good idea to show this game in order to explain to you how you should play when you have space advantage. So let's first run through the opening. Okay, nothing very interesting has happened so far, but I would say that white has played a slightly better opening and is a little bit better because of that. Now, in the context of the structures that I discuss in my book, this is what you might call a King's Indian complex. We have the 6 pawns in the typical squares, c4, d4, e4 versus c6, d6, and e5. And plenty of things could happen now. Like, for example, we could trade on e5. That would be one type of position. We could wait for our opponent to take, or we could push. And then once we push, there is another question, which is, what will our opponent do? Should our opponent trade on d5 or play c5? And those different decisions give rise to very different positions. So let me just give you a brief idea about that. So first, let's suppose that black played c5. How do you think white should play now? What should be the main plan? Go ahead, Eddie.
A3 and then b4 and then c5?
A3 if they take, sure. Okay, so you want to play a3 and then b4. I like that. That's a very good idea. Now, I want to ask you, yeah? Yeah, okay, so then, broadly speaking, there are two main ideas to do here. You can either break with b4 or you can break with f4. They can both be good in certain positions. But in this position, I definitely think that a3 and b4 is a better idea. Okay? We can later discuss in which positions the f4 break is more effective. It's not very effective in this position. So first of all, if we play knight d2, automatically those bishops are going to be out of the board, right? And then after that, you're thinking about doing what? Now, I want to show you something. Look at this knight on d2. Where is it going to go? What do you think? What use can you get out of this knight? Yeah, is that a good square? I mean, think about it. I mean, how impressive is this knight right here? I mean, it's like if you have this position. I mean, do you really like that knight? I don't. I don't see what's the point of it. But maybe, but that's not very likely because your opponent will stop you with g6. It will be a lot of moves to then be stopped. But a much more reasonable thing to try in this position would be to play knight e1. Why knight e1? Because, okay, we're going to trade those bishops. Oh, and let me ask you another question. Am I happy to trade those bishops? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Exactly. So the pawns are light squares. So when you trade that bishop, you have a positional advantage with white. Right? You have got rid of your opponent's good bishop, you have got rid of your bad bishop, and then the rest of the game will be a little bit easier for you because of that. So the trade is desirable, but because the knight on d2 didn't have much, I put the knight on e1. And what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about maybe playing knight d3 and then similar ideas, right? But then I will keep the knight on d3, it's much more helpful there. And then maybe I'll end up playing something like this and then I'll play a4 and then a5. That makes way more sense, which brings us back to a general rule, which I would say is the following. If you have a King's Indian type 2, which is this position, with these 6 pawns where they are, then the pawn is going to be stuck on c4 forever, which means that the knight on d2 doesn't have anywhere to go. So in this position, you play knight e1. That's the right thing to do. Did you understand that? c5, knight e1. Now, if your opponent took, on the other hand, now c4 is available. So what you do instead, for example, if your opponent played there, is knight d2. And now the knight can go to c4. And that's pretty good. Now, let's look at this position for a moment. Who would you rather be, white or black? Okay, and then maybe I'm bringing a knight to c4. So if black plays b5, what would you do with white? a4 looks pretty good. Even better, rook c1, and then a4. So when you push me away, I can go to d1, but my rook is already coming up. So if you move the pawn, rook c6. How do you feel about this? So this is great. Now, it is typical for white to have an advantage on the queen side while black is attacking on the king side. The problem is that here, black doesn't have anything on the king side, right? The attack on the king side is completely delayed. So here, white is doing great. So this position is essentially unacceptable for black. So anyway, after d5, the game continued pawn take, and before I get to do this knight d2, black took. In my book, this would be called a King's Indian type 1, and it would generally be a good position for white. But now let's try to understand this game, because it is very interesting what happens here. So here black played queen b8. Can any of you tell me what is the plan that black is aiming for? No. I mean, that's a decent idea. It is everyone's first guess. b5, b4. Not the main plan. Black has something much more powerful. Who has a space advantage? It's a pretty substantial space advantage, right? The pawn on d5, kind of annoying. So people typically say something about space advantage. What do they say? Trade pieces. What kinds of pieces? Rooks? Queens? What type of pieces? No. Actually, what you should do in a position like this is you trade minor pieces. That's the best advice I can give you. You focus on trading minor pieces. So if you are black, what's your goal? You want to trade your knights and the bishop. So what's the idea of playing queen b8? Exactly. So if I do nothing, you'll play there. And then, what can you tell me about these two bishops? Which one is better? Which one is worse? Yeah?
The one on e3 because the one on f3 is blocked with the central pawn.
Right. And then what we have been saying is that in this type of position, if you have traded that bishop, then any hope for an advantage is kind of evaporates, right? So if you're white, you definitely don't want to allow that. Okay, so you're white. Your opponent just played queen b8. What will you do with white? What's the nicest way you can use to prevent that trade? And please don't say I'm going to remove the bishop, because the diagonal is important. a4, a5. Good. So you play a4. You might think that we played a4 to prevent b5. But no, that's not the reason. We played a4 in order to prevent bishop b6, right? So if your opponent plays this, you play a5, preventing bishop b6. Now, what if your opponent plays a5? Trying to play this again. Yeah? How about you play queen b3? So now this is impossible again, right? Okay, so it seems like, black can't just force that move. So in the game, black just played rook c8, a5, bishop d8. Okay, so there is a hope that someday they will be able to do it. Okay, now white played bishop e2. And black played b5. So let me ask you, will you take that pawn? With the knight, with the bishop, or with the pawn? What do you think?
Bishop takes the rook takes c3.
Right, so let's go through the possibilities. If I take the pawn, you will take on e4. Who favors from that trade?
Black.
Why?
Because he took a central pawn, white took the center.
Excellent. Yes, what did you want to say?
Also, the d5 pawn's left isolated.
Very good thinking. Okay, so overall, that's a disaster move for white. White should never even consider this. What if you take with the bishop? Rook. Now the bishop is hanging. You take on d7. Now I take on e3. Black has an advantage here, right? We got two pieces for the rook. This is not acceptable again. So going back a little bit, white cannot take. What if you take with the pawn? Let's say you take with the pawn and then your opponent just takes on b6. What is that? It's trading. This is exactly what we were trying to avoid. So no, not acceptable. So let's go back a little bit. After b5, white just played f3, consolidating the pawn on e4, making sure that b4 does not work. If your opponent played b4 anyway, well, where will you put this knight? Yeah?
94.
But the pawn on a5 would be hanging.
95 or
Well, be careful.
No, it gets
No.
bad.
So knight a4, not good. Knight b5, not good. So only move is then knight b1. And then you can play knight c2 and knight c4. And that's pretty good for white, don't you think? So then black doesn't want to weaken that square, so he just played a6. Now, let's say I give you this position with white. So the question here is, how can you create a plan? In order to create a plan, the first thing you need to realize is what's the source of your advantage, if you have one. So,
The queen side, the puncher.
okay, be more specific. We have space advantage. That's the source of the advantage we have, right? It's not much, but we have some space advantage, and we want to profit from that. Now, can we put a knight on c6, for example? Would that be a worthwhile goal? Okay, let's go through that. Okay, so let's say you play g3. Okay, I'm going to play queen b7. You play f4. I take, and I play b4. Then the pawn is hanging. Right? Now, let's say you want to try something else, like you want to support the pawn first. Okay, fine. I'm going to play rooks. I'm going to play maybe here, just to do something in the meantime. You play f4. I take. Now I play here. I'm going to trade the bishop. King h1. I play bishop a7.
Bishop d2.
d2. Okay. Now I play knight c.
But now your bishop's not good anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So you didn't trade, but it's not a good. So it's not. This is not a great position for white.
But let's trade it and
Okay, trade it.
go g1.
Okay, maybe I should have played this. Well, I mean, no, I mean, this could be okay. All I'm saying is I don't think it's that advantageous. The previous position, there's a word for it. It's called one-sided. The previous position was one-sided. White had threats, black didn't. Here we can both create threats, right? That's the problem that I see with this overall idea. Instead, okay, there's one element that you haven't considered yet, is the open file. There's an open file. We should maybe try to use it. So here white just played rook f2, and then black tried to go all the way to trade this bishop. Okay, fine. Now I play. Now that you have removed your bishop from this diagonal, I can put the knight to b4, right, without having to lose this a5 pawn. I'm going to c6. Now we have traded one minor piece, so we are not so happy about that, right? We lost a little bit of our space advantage, and now there is an open file, and then the question is, should we fight for it or not? Because in the process of fighting for it, we will end up trading all the rooks. So what do you think? Okay, but so the question is, here's the big question. Are you willing to trade the rooks, yes or no? Right. And then, do you think there is any meaning in having these rooks outside of the open file? There is no use for them, right? So we have to fight for the open file. But now let me ask you, this is the question. Are we losing the space advantage when we do this?
No.
Why not?
Because the rooks didn't have any space advantages. They didn't really do anything. Even before they.
Okay, and some other reason that I said earlier. Space advantage is based on the amount of minor pieces in the board, not major pieces. Minor pieces meaning knights and bishops. Rooks and queens are very good at creating some sort of counterplay, sort of like infiltrating in your opponent's position when he expands a little bit too much. So eliminating the rooks does not eliminate our space advantage, but it does help us to minimize counterplay. So we have traded everything. And now here, let's take a guess. Can we win this, yes or no?
Yeah.
How?
I would say like
Okay.
93.
something like that. Okay, so here the game continued. Knight e7, king f2, king e3,
Is this more active? White
and now b4. Yeah, I'm not sure. White has an advantage. There is some substantial space advantage because I have the pawn on a5 and I have the pawn on d5. Now let me ask you, if you were black, what would you do? Go back or go forward?
go back.
Go back, okay. So let me ask you, what's wrong with playing knight a4? Yeah?
Because it's on the side of the board, and also you can't go back. That's forward.
Yeah, it's irreversible, right? It's like a very committal decision. Now the reason that I play this is that if I go back, I have very little space, so my knights kind of conflict with each other. But if I go forward, then at least the knights have a little bit more freedom.
Knight is trapped.
Yeah, that's another problem. So let me ask you, if you were white here, wait. If you were white here, how would you play? It seems like nobody likes this knight a4 idea, so I want to see how are you planning to beat me. Show me.
King d2.
King d2, okay.
No, not that.
Maybe. Okay. Keep going.
c2.
Okay. Mm.
King d3.
Do you realize that you cannot take because of this, right?
Yeah.
You're losing this pawn. Okay. So you said king b3, right? Okay. Now I play knight f6. Okay. And then again, you cannot take because this pawn is always hanging, right? I'm going to play g5 now.
Are we going for a win?
Depends on what you do.
Knight to e2.
Maybe now I am. Not really, but you can see that white is not exactly winning here, right?
But not exactly lose.
But we were hoping to win. Come on. Okay, so what's the evaluation of this position?
It's
Crazy.
crazy.
Okay, very accurate. Okay, good. So you agree that this is not a very clear-cut advantage.
But it's sort of odd though to put it like.
Yeah, I know, but let's look at how you could have played. So this is the way to play. Bishop h3, preventing f5. Okay, so that's one thing. Next, you maneuver a little bit.
Can you trade the bishop for the knight or something?
Right now? No. No. Play bishop f1. Bishop f1 is a nice move. What's the threat? Yes.
Knight takes b5.
Knight takes b5, trapping the knight. Okay, so we have finally managed to find a way to take advantage of the knight.
Knight
Knight a7, okay. Now f4. Now that you're sort of tied to the queen side, I can sort of make this annoying move f4 and try to put some pressure. If you take on f4, then I will just take, and then I will push on e5 someday. And then I'll have the d4 for the knight. So here the line is f6. Okay, so now we go around. Now we play bishop h3, bishop e6. We are gaining even more space. Of course, if we are going to play f5, I'm first going to put the bishop inside, right? So now the question is, how will you continue? You have a pretty good advantage. How will you convert this into a win?
Maybe like king d3 and knight c4.
I mean, that looks pretty, but so you play this, right? And then this, and then what if I do nothing? What's your threat?
Knight d2 to f3 to h4 to g4.
Okay, but so you don't need to go to c4. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this line is actually knight d1, knight f3, okay? Okay, and then g4. How does white come up with this? Oh, it's very easy. This is a pawn chain, right? So we attack the base of the chain. What is the base of the chain? Felix, what is the base of the chain? No. Who taught you this? Yeah. I mean, when you have a pawn chain, No, 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 no. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. When we talk about a pawn chain,
Oh no, right, never mind.
you have to think about blocked pawns. You have to think about.
More like a backward. No, not a backward one.
No, 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 no. But let's discuss it in this way. Where is the pawn chain exactly? The pawn chain, we are talking about the pawns that are blocked. So these 6 pawns are blocked. So the base of the pawn chain here, I'm talking about f6.
Wait, is it? Why can't it be
d6 too. But here we are paying attention to this one. So we are playing g5. Why do we play g5? Because we want to attack the base of the chain, right? Now, if you are white, you have 2 decisions to make. One, you can take on f6 and focus on attacking the base of the chain. Or you can push g6. And then now the new base of the chain is g7, right? Because it's the most backward blocked pawn. And then you can try to attack g7. So the question for you is, what do you choose to do? Right. So you're saying take knight h2 and you're going to win the pawn right away. That's good. But what about you play g6? What do you think black can do here? You will very quickly realize that black does not have a lot of moves. He can basically move the king, right? You can't see how to win, right? Well, let me show you. Let's say you move the king. Okay, obviously, where am I going to bring this knight?
Knight h2.
Okay, no, but the final square.
H1?
h5. So we're all going there. Okay, we can all agree on that. So, okay, it doesn't matter how we get there, but let's say I play there. Oh. Yeah. Okay, we made it. Now, what can black play? He has one acceptable move,
Knight g8.
knight g8, and then after bishop c8, he can resign, right?
Knight e7.
Well, but we're going to take, I'm going to take this pawn, right?
Oh,
And then this pawn, and then the knight.
So what's the?
That's the back.
Is there even a? So both moves are wrong.
Yeah, both moves are winning. I personally like g6 better because he has a sux one. But I think they are both winning. Now, going back, it seems that this position is just not something that black can save. So after b4, black had to play just knight d7. Now, obviously, f5 could be annoying, right? So I will prevent it by playing bishop h3. What will you do now?
F4.
f4. Very good. So you play f4, then what? Now your opponent is kind of under pressure on e5, and then the problem here is that, well, there's not a lot you can do other than to defend. If you take, that's kind of scary now, because if you take, I will take, and then someday I will end up playing this e5, right? But the problem is I'm not in a rush, right? Like I can do it whenever I want, and I can do a lot of annoying things in the meantime, and you don't have a lot of options. So this is really not a nice situation to be on. Maybe I would play like that, and then this, and then this. And I have a pretty strong feeling that one way or another you are going to lose this.
Can you go into the pawn game?
Which one?
Yeah, if you
Oh, you mean trade everything here?
yeah.
Maybe. Maybe yes. But anyway, black just played f6. So then how will you make progress now? f5, oh my god, no. Be careful with these moves. These moves are very committal. Okay, you have an advantage, but this move is very committal. It's like you're blocking everything. And you're blocking everything with your bishop outside. Maybe you play bishop e6 and then e5. Maybe that's worth considering a little bit more. But before you even do that, how about, how is the king going to come inside, right? If you start just pushing, you will block everything. It will end up being a draw. You have to be careful with that. So then how about you play bishop c8 and then start bringing the king? Bless you. Then you are about to play g6. I don't want to let you. h5. Okay. So you are pretty blocked. Now, let's identify weaknesses for a moment. Which weaknesses does black have?
G7 pawn would be A6.
G7, A6, and
D6.
D6. 3 weaknesses. So how do we take advantage of them? Okay, we keep this bishop in this diagonal so that maybe someday we can take on A6. What else? What about the knight? Where should the knight be?
B8.
There?
Yeah.
Okay, something more realistic.
E6.
E6. G6 and E6, they don't attack very much.
F5.
F5. Look at that. F5. Annoying for both, right? Okay. So the game has a natural continuation, which is knight F2. Okay, boom. Okay, here we're going. Now the problem is, when you get to F5, you don't have a threat. So sad, right? I mean, I just play knight D7 and you don't have any way to make progress. So then that's kind of the... Huh?
Oh, wait, no.
So this is kind of the puzzle for you. You have this position. We have played a great game, right? We managed to... Well, what did we do exactly? We took some space advantage in the center at the beginning of the game. Then we managed to maintain the advantage, maintain a clear position, then push more pawns, gain more space. I mean, you will notice the pawn on A5 and the pawn on H5 both give us more space advantage, right? We have a better king. Everything is slightly better, but our opponent is very strong. He's not giving us the game. So then the question is, how do you convert this into an actual win?
Bishop G6, then F1.
So bishop
G6,
G6, and then when I play knight E8, what's the move?
F1.
Why do you want to play F5?
Also, like, if you take the bishop, I was like,
Well.
Guaranteed the draw, basically.
But how will you force me to take the bishop?
I'm looking for like G4, G5.
No. I mean, maybe, but like, no. Okay. Wait. First of all, let's talk about simple tactics. Knight E8, what's the move?
Bishop takes E8.
Bishop takes.
Oh, the free pawn.
Free pawn, free game, right? The beauty of having space advantage is, okay, you win the pawn, you win the game, right? It's like you're going to win one pawn and then another and then another, and then you will just push, right? That will be the end of the game.
Not necessarily. You could use that one.
Okay, so after bishop G6, then black had to take. And now I'm going to play knight F5 next move. So what can you play with white, with black?
King E8. King E4.
Wait.
Knight E8.
You play that, you lose on the spot, right?
Yeah.
So knight E8 only move, and now the king will never be able to go here, right? Okay. So then the question is, in this position, okay, we have made a lot of progress. We have a lot of space advantage. How will you win? We can try. Let's look. King G4, King H5. Okay, so typically you would play these two moves very quickly, because why not? But now you need to think carefully, right? You need to stop and think. Does this work or not? So you want to take, right? That's what you said, right? Now, what if your opponent plays this?
He takes what?
Oh, that's G7. Draw.
No. Draw.
King G, there, King G6. G4.
Or maybe you will win now.
G5.
Oh, I'm so sad now. Did I lose? How about if I just take, though?
King takes.
Push.
No. That's a draw.
Yeah, that's a draw. I'm almost completely sure that you're losing here.
Oh.
Well, then you somehow won.
Yeah, I should have.
Getting lucky.
I think here, maybe I should have just.
No, can't you just push it?
No, because then you will take, I will push, then you will promote. No. Okay, it doesn't matter too much. The point is that you're not winning anymore.
You never know.
No, I'm pretty certain. So then the question is here. What do you do here?
Was knight takes g7?
King takes f5.
F5, right?
Yeah.
King takes.
F takes e. Oh my gosh.
So there is a difference of one tempo.
Wow.
And what do you play now?
Queen to a8.
E8. Check. You need to do check. Come on. It's like if you can do check, you do check. And then hopefully you will take the other pawns with check. How would you play now?
Queen c6.
Queen c6. Check. 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 Thank you very much. Okay, we are 3 pawns up. This should be a win. Now, I know you all want to see how this.
Are you 4 pawns up?
No. But I think we all want to see how he lost the game. So knight takes,
Oh, sure.
pawn take. You said king take, and then I said f5. And then you said g7, right? No, you said pawn take. Oh, yeah, I always get confused with that. Pawn take.
That works.
Yeah, pawn take, king e7. You can't push the pawns.
What? Pawn g7?
It was probably. Wait, can't you play?
No, you can't.
No, you.
Do you see this?
But what would you play as? What would you? What if I play like king h7?
Wait, can't
I mean, you can,
Oh,
but
no, then
but
don't go
but
there.
check. I mean, it's like. I mean, where are you going with this?
draw?
No.
Oh.
Okay, so overall, okay. Now, why did this crazy move work? Because the pawn was on g6, right? Because we had space advantage, right? And something else that you will notice about the space advantage is that throughout the entire game, we were always calling the shots, right? We were always the ones that was kind of deciding what happens and what doesn't happen, creating the threats, and then black always had to defend and find the right moves.
The engines that knight takes h6 is still a show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a reason for that. The reason is that after pawn take, you don't have to.
Oh, you
Yeah, I mean, like you don't have to take there. You can play f5,
Right.
and then here we are sort of stuck, right?
Oh.
That you can just play this. Draw. Okay, so this is a game by Liang Awonder with white against Curran. So it was c4. Okay, knight f3.
Is it the same motif?
Not exactly,
Oh.
but it is a similar pawn structure. It's a similar middle game. What do you think of this position?
d6 pawn looks very weak.
The d6 pawn looks weak. Okay, so obviously black had to defend that and played f6. Okay, now I still have this idea, right? So here black played f5 and then a6. But okay, so the question was, what do you think about this position? Like, in other words, what's the evaluation of this position?
White's better.
White's better. Why? Right? That's the reason, right? So maybe when you look at it, you have a feeling that white is better, but it's always good to put it in words. Because if you can really understand what's the source of your advantage, then it's much easier for you to take advantage of it, right? For you to kind of maintain it and use it, right? So here, what would you do with white?
Play
B4? With what purpose?
d5.
B4 to play B5?
Yeah.
Let's see. So B4. Okay. So I'm going to try to play against you. I'm not saying it's a bad move, but I'll try to come up with some moves. So let's say that I play H5. Continue.
a4.
A4. Okay, I'll play King H7. Why am I playing this? To attack. That's very vague. Let's be more specific, okay?
Bishop h6.
To play Bishop H6. How about that? Do you think Bishop H6 is a good idea, yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
Bishop.
Yeah, because it diminishes my space disadvantage, and it trades your most important piece. So what I'm doing kind of makes sense, right? Okay, continue.
A5.
A5. Okay, bishop h6. Knight a4. Okay. Now I will trade, and then I'll play knight f6.
H3. Knight d4. G4.
G4.
Wait, I thought you were attacking on that side.
Well, he changed his mind. That's okay. It's okay to change your mind. Now I take.
H3.
Check.
Yeah, with a piece. G4.
Oh my god, so annoying. Okay, let me play bishop b5 instead. Okay, but overall, I mean, the game got a little bit confusing, right? I mean, you had some sort of a nice advantage. And you realize that the moment that you played this b4, I immediately played h5, and then I had some counterplay, one way or the other. I had some counterplay. But what if you had played g4? Let's try to understand what Liang Awonder did. He played g4. What's the point? Yep.
To sort of reduce the ability of h5. So
Yeah.
open up the g file.
And claim some space, maybe. Because, okay, one thing that I want you to notice is that if you take on f5, you're not very likely to create some meaningful attack on the g file. That's just unrealistic. But if you could play g5 and h4, you could get some nice space. That's much more realistic, right? That's actually going to happen in this game. Now, if your opponent pushes, for example, two problems for him. Number one, the bishop is now very trapped. Number two, typically people play this hoping to push like this. But now that I have already placed my pawn on g4, how are you going to accomplish that, right? So you are kind of stuck here in a not so nice situation. So after g4, the game continued with pawn take, bishop f6. How will you play with white? Knight a4 to b6. Okay, let's take a look at that. So you play that. Then I'll play here.
D4.
What?
D4.
b4, yeah. b5. I'm sorry. I always do that. Have you noticed? I always try to trade that bishop. It always makes me feel happy. So then what will you do?
Bishop e2.
Fine. I will trade. I'll play here. You know what's coming up next? Like, let's say you do nothing. I'm going to put a rook on f4. I'm going to be pretty happy with that.
So rook d f4.
Makes sense. Now I will play bishop d7. Next.
g5.
Okay, and now I'll bring the other rook.
King d2.
Okay, and what is this position?
Boring.
Boring, right? Equality maybe, right? No more than equality. Yeah, so that's the problem. You don't have an advantage anymore. White just played bishop e2 against b5, then rook d1. Okay. So you want to trade that bishop? Well, nothing I can do to stop you. But in the meantime, what did I do? I activated my rook and my bishop. You see, now my bishop becomes annoying here. And that's pretty important because when I put the bishop on g4, I essentially prevent you from playing bishop b6. Can I play what?
It's black.
Knight under attack also. So take, knight f8. Oh, isn't that nice? Because of this very direct tactical threat, I prevented you from achieving a very important long-term trade. Huh? No, we're just trying to understand the position. We are not any given color, okay? We're just trying to understand the important ideas in the position. Obviously, white has the advantage, right? Yeah. So, okay, so now black is kind of stuck not being able to do this trade. So what will I do next with white? h4. Ooh, b4. Why b4?
To stop.
Well, b4 maybe to stop b4, that's one reason. To stop bishop a5, that's another reason. Because you're black, you need to get rid of pieces, right? So that's another thing. And then the other thing is to kind of stabilize that because h4 can come anytime, right? h4 can wait, b4 cannot. Do you see that? Now your opponent plays bishop c8. Do you trade?
No.
No. Okay, you don't trade. Now you want to achieve this break someday. Your opponent plays there. Okay, so you get ready. Maybe rook c1. Okay. Now your opponent plays a5. What's your response? a3. Why do we play a3?
Because when the pawns get traded, bishop a5 still stopped.
Yeah, bishop a5 is still stopped. What else?
Um,
The pawn on b5 is a liability, very serious liability, right? It's like now that you have played a5, nothing will defend this pawn, only the rook and the bishop, right? So now those two pieces are tied to the defense, right? So then king f7, rook b1. Maybe I'm thinking about taking someday. Okay, so you push. Now with white, I feel pretty happy. Why? Because now that you have pushed, these two pawns are in very serious danger, right? They might be lost someday. Like if I manage to take the b5 pawn, the a4 pawn will just follow automatically. Okay, so how do you continue? Okay, that would have been worth it. Okay, so rook f1. Let's say I play here. What do you continue?
h4.
h4. Okay. What else?
Now I think I should
H5.
like that.
No,
I will take it. I will take it. Don't do that.
Now getting like that.
Okay. Well, let's see what happened in this game. It was knight d1, rook. Oh, look at that. h4. So all of these moves are very non-committal, right? The only reason I'm making them is because they kind of allow me to improve. Now, where do you think white is going with all of this? Like if black did nothing for a while, what do you think white would do?
Knight g4 to f6.
Knight g4 to f6.
Rook f1.
Rook f1 here. This might be worth it.
Oh, but bishop
And the point is that you can't easily trade because you are kind of losing a pawn, right?
bishop
Right? Yeah. So basically the pawn on d6 is lost if you dare to take. But if you don't dare to take, then you're kind of losing for other reasons. So you see this Liang Awonder is pretty good. So knight c3, attacking the pawn. Rook f1, continue to be annoying. Knight d1. Okay, oh, look, he wants to go again. Finally.
Let's join function.
So you see, one of the reasons that black didn't want to trade this earlier is that there will always be a weakness on c7, and then the rook could kind of be annoying there. So then king d8, okay, rook c6, obviously. Defend, and then
Rook a6 to a.
rook a6. Then rook a5. For example, if you play this, I'm just going to play rook a5, attacking the pawn. And if you wait, any waiting move will lose because of knight f6. Yeah? What a terrible game, right? What a terrible game. So basically, black has lost from beginning to end. And then after rook a6, well, the game continued with knight b6, knight f6, then rook, then take and resign. Because if you take, I have a check. Okay? All right. So then, let's summarize some of the main ideas of this position then. So I would say that the position is best defined by this moment. So in this moment, what is it that we see? We have a King's Indian type 1 position. White has a space advantage. There is some possibility to fight for the file. Because we have space advantage, it will be easier for us to claim the file instead of our opponent. So that's one thing. Then another thing, very important, that's going on here is the fact that black would like to trade some minor pieces in order to decrease the space advantage. So with white, we make that difficult, right? So for example, here we play this g4, claiming more space and obstructing our opponent's play, right? And from then on, it's just a matter of having good technique, you know, being able to create threats in multiple places at the same time, blocking basic exchange mechanisms, and then making progress toward the ending. Okay, so let me just close by giving you one final thought. This is kind of a general recommendation. It would be my general recommendation that you study openings seriously and try to figure out the type of middle game that you will obtain. You can easily classify most middle games instead of pawn structures. And once you have that, then you can figure out what are the main plans for each. If you're able to do that, then when you play the opening, you go in with a substantial advantage, because you're not only memorizing the opening move, you're actually thinking ahead of time what plans are the right ones, and then you can sort of remember similar games that you've seen in the past in order to make decisions more effectively. For example, in this game, I mean, I don't think that Liang, Awonder, came up with all the ideas like on the spot. Right? Obviously, when he played g4, he has seen this before, right? He has seen this in other games. He knows the type of position he's playing. He knows what type of ending will be won for him, right? That's why he wins. It's not that he comes up with everything on the spot, right? So you need to learn from other games, but you need to know how to relate games to one another. And the best way to do that is by thinking in terms of the opening you're playing and the pawn structure that you are arriving to. Okay? Okay, thank you for coming.